She has been doing the same job for 6 years. Good at it, reliable. Her manager trusts her. Last month she found out her colleague, same title, same team, same number of years at the company, got a raise. She did not. She asked why. The answer was not about performance, not about hours worked or results delivered. It was about one thing her colleague had started doing differently 18 months ago. Her colleague is not smarter, not more experienced, not better connected. Her colleague just ended up on the right side of a split that is quietly dividing every workplace in the world right now. A split that most people cannot see yet. But the data can. And what that data shows is one of the most uncomfortable patterns in the entire AI economy. A pattern that does not care about your title, your experience, or how hard you work. It only cares about one thing. And most people have no idea which side of it they are on. The story most people are hearing about AI and salaries goes like this. AI will create new jobs. The economy will adjust. And things will be fine in the long run. That story is incomplete. And the part that is missing is already visible in the data. Data entry specialists at major outsourcing companies saw their average salary drop from $38,000 to $33,000 between 2024 and 2026, a 14% decline in 2 years. 14% in 2 years. Customer service, paralegal work, junior software development, basic content creation, retail management, financial data processing. In each of these categories, the same pattern is playing out. The jobs are not disappearing overnight. The salaries are quietly contracting. And on the other side of the same labor market, something very different is happening. Jobs requiring AI skills now command a 56% wage premium over comparable roles without those skills. That number was 25% the year before. It more than doubled in 12 months. The two-track market is not coming, it is here. And most people have not yet noticed which track their job is on. In 1979, the average production line worker in the United States earned the equivalent of roughly $55,000 a year in today's money. That salary had been rising steadily for 30 years. Then, something changed. Not all at once. Gradually, programmable logic controllers began replacing specific tasks on the production line. Not the whole job, specific tasks. The welding, the cutting, the repetitive assembly operations that made up the core of what a production worker did. The job did not disappear, it shrank. By 1995, the average production line worker was doing a fundamentally different job than their counterpart in 1979. More monitoring, less doing. And the salary had stagnated in real terms for 15 years. Not because the economy was bad, because the negotiating power of the role had been quietly eroded. The workers who adapted saw their salaries continue to rise. The workers who continued doing the same tasks as before saw theirs stagnate. The two-track market in manufacturing took 15 years to become visible. The two-track market in knowledge work is moving 15 times faster. PricewaterhouseCoopers published its 2026 Global AI Jobs Barometer in June 2026. The study analyzed close to 1 billion job postings across 6 continents. Jobs that AI is professionalizing are growing twice as fast as jobs that AI is democratizing, and the wage growth gap between these two tracks is 42%. 42% in wage growth. Between two tracks in the same labor market, the most AI-exposed junior roles are now 7 times more likely than the least exposed junior roles to require traditionally senior skills like leadership and judgment. The job title stays the same. The expectations have completely changed. On the declining side, data entry salaries fell 14% in 2 years. Customer service employment in the United States declined by approximately 80,000 positions between 2022 and 2024. Paralegal salaries are declining 10 to 15%. But here is the number that stops most people cold. Posted salaries for knowledge jobs have plateaued since mid-2024, not declined. Plateaued, meaning that in a period of significant inflation, holding your salary flat is actually a real terms pay cut. Education alone no longer guarantees insulation from AI's effects. The World Economic Forum projects that 39% of workers' core skills will become outdated or transformed between 2025 and 2030. 11.8 million workers in the United States alone may need to shift into different lines of work by 2030. Here is the dimension that even economists are not fully accounting for yet. The two-track market is not just about AI skills. It is about who owns the output. Think about what that means for you specifically. When a data entry clerk manually processes invoices, the value they create is proportional to their time. When an AI-augmented analyst uses AI tools to process 10 times as much data in the same time, the analyst's salary does not increase tenfold. The company captures most of the productivity gain. PwC's data confirms this. Productivity growth is 40% higher at companies most exposed to AI versus least exposed. But that productivity gain is not being shared equally with workers. The workers who benefit are the ones who are genuinely irreplaceable within the AI-augmented workflow. The ones who provide the judgment, the client relationship, the creative direction that AI cannot provide. The workers who are not benefiting are the ones doing tasks that AI can approximate. Even if they are using AI tools, even if they are productive, their productivity gain does not translate into negotiating power. The question is not whether your job uses AI. The question is whether your job requires something that AI cannot do. That is the only question that determines which track you are on. The two-track market does not care about your title. It cares about the one thing in your work that AI cannot do. If you cannot name it, you are probably on the wrong track. The signal is not in which industries are hiring. It is in which specific roles within those industries are seeing salary growth versus stagnation. Within customer service, the roles being cut are the ones handling routine interactions. The roles seeing salary growth are the ones handling complex escalations, emotional situations, and high-value client relationships. Same industry, different track. Within legal work, paralegal salaries are declining for document review and research. AI-augmented senior associates are seeing salaries rise 20 to 30%. Same firm, different track. Within software development, junior developer salaries are stagnating as AI handles more code generation. Senior developers who can architect systems and take accountability for outcomes are seeing compensation rise significantly. Same profession, different track. The people positioning correctly are not asking, is my industry safe? They are asking, within my industry, what is the specific work that only a human can own? And they are moving toward that work deliberately before the salary gap makes the choice for them. If you want to keep seeing the next layer before it becomes obvious to everyone else, this is where that happens. Every week, before the mainstream catches up. She still does not know what her colleagues started doing differently 18 months ago. But you do now. The two-track market does not care about your title or your years of experience. The two-track market is not a prediction. PricewaterhouseCoopers measured it across 1 billion job postings. The salary gap between the two tracks is growing at 42%. The skills needed for the exposed roles are changing 66% faster than last year. The production line workers of 1979 did not see the split coming. They were doing the same job they had always done, and it had always paid well. and there was no obvious reason to think anything was changing. Until the salary stopped growing, and then started shrinking. And by the time most of them understood what had happened, the workers on the other track were already a decade ahead. The two-track market was always going to arrive. The data just confirmed it has. The next layer was always there. Now you can see it.